Speaking of Palin, though, if I could just cap this off, this was a pet blog issue of mine this week because Palin made her first entry into a policy debate after her resignation announcement with an op-ed in the Washington Post railing against the Clean Energy and Climate Protection Bill, which was notable among many things, not even mentioning climate. And she got pretty widely hammered in the liberal blogosphere. I think notable, particularly because so much attention was towards Sotomayor, to lesser extent healthcare. But you still have in the environmental, not just the environmental blogosphere. Grist Russ Walker said she thesis comes low with plenty of rhetoric and zero facts, nothing more than assertion of the emissions reduction part of the bill. Connor Clark, who's not even a liberal blogger, is at The Atlantic, knocked her very shady use of numbers. Switchboard's Pete Altman, an organizational blogger from the NRDC, listed all the ways that the climate crisis was hurting Alaska, that Palin was not taking it seriously. And Think Progress mentioned that even though she's railing against the cap and trade bill, she backed cap and trade when she ran for vice president, not just embracing McCain's position, but saying she wanted to cut carbon emissions in the vice presidential debate. And you even had Senator John Kerry dive into Huffington Post and Daily Kos doing the same.
Which he did acknowledge it would cost jobs. He did acknowledge that cap and trade will cost jobs. He argues that it would also create jobs in the future.
Who said that?
John Kerry.
But a net increase in jobs.
In the future, he said.
But. And I wonder if there was a pretty concerted pushback from the left. My own post on the subject was, I think it's great that Sarah-Palin will become the face of the climate bill opposition. It's probably the best thing that the climate bill opponents could ask for, elevate the issue, galvanize the left around it. But I wonder if maybe the drubbing she was taking was too hard, that maybe conservatives won't want her to play this role, and she's going to move on to another issue and not follow through on this. Has there been a conservative blogosphere reaction to this as far as you know?
Not as far as I know. I've not seen a lot of talk about it. I saw tweets, people linking to it on Twitter. I've not seen a big defense of this in conservative blogs, but that could be for a variety of reasons. The Sotomayor story dominated this week. Again, I also think that there are more liberal bloggers who cover the policy stuff. So that's another example. And then I just think there's Palin exhaustion. Maybe this is part of her rehabilitating herself and sort of becoming a leading spokesman. But I think that a lot of conservative bloggers are just like, oh, it's Sarah Palin again. We've kind of had enough of her, at least for the time being. Maybe that'll change. And of course, there's an interesting Gallup poll out, which shows that she is still the most popular Republican. Although the interesting thing is that Mitt Romney, although people seem to like Palin better, they would vote for Mitt Romney for president before her.
By a little bit over.
By Palin. A little bit. And it's interesting. There's been some commentary, like Ala Pundit over at Hot Air said, he's sort of speculating if Romney and Palin both get in, what happens to Huckabee? Does he essentially become the guy who plays kingmaker, the tiebreaker? Whoever he goes with gets the nomination. He writes, what shot does he have? What shot does Huckabee have when anybody but Mitts will probably break for Palin? So he's already thinking 2012 and sort of making the argument that Huckabee and Palin occupy the same niche, the same sort of evangelical space, and then Romney would probably have sort of the clear sailing in states like Massachusetts and maybe New Hampshire. But
a lot of liberal bloggers have pointed to other polls showing, look how ridiculously high in the polls Palin does relative to other Republicans. You can see how diluted the base is, that they're still looking to her as the savior. But you did see in that Gallup poll, to some extent, that high favorability rating had a little bit more to do with name identification. Right. She had a much lower percentage of people with no opinion, whereas Romney and Huckabee had higher no opinion.
And I think it also might speak to a more sophisticated audience than you might think. I mean, if you ask me, do I like Sarah Palin, I would say yes. And if you ask me, would I vote for Mitt Romney over Sarah Palin, at this point I'd say Mitt Romney. And it's not because I don't like her philosophy. It's because I think she's been erratic. And so...
So I think it's a warning shot to Palin that, don't... I mean, it's a warning shot to us maybe not to oversimplify the Republican base. It's a warning shot to Palin. Hey, don't think that your support is that deep
look,
right
I love
now.
my mom.
You have more.
I love my mom, but I don't want her to be. I don't
realize.
want her to be president of the United States. I mean, because you like somebody or have a favorable opinion of them doesn't mean you want them to be president necessarily. So.
You don't want to have a beer with Sarah Palin? Isn't that the most important thing?
I would have a beer with Sarah. Now that Todd.
And isn't that how we choose our presidents?
We do. The guy that you want to have a beer with always wins, actually. I don't know about Obama. I'd like to hang with Obama, but I'd like to hang out with McCain too. I mean, so that was kind of weird. Bush, you'd rather hang out with Bush than Gore, but Gore won the popular vote, but not the election. So that's the one that always throws people off. But by and large, the person that you would have a beer with wins the election.
I thank you, sir, for acknowledging Gore's popular vote victory.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta call him like I see him. He won. Thanks to all those great voters in South Florida who voted for Pat Buchanan. Though he did not win the Electoral College.